Mabaruma is the bustling trading post of Region 1 at the top of Guyana. This is the Kumaka market where everything arrives by boat. You can get the best organically grown ground provisions and vegetables. Then there is the famous morocot fish, a delicacy in these parts and fetches a good price on the coastline. One of the most expensive products on the market, these blue crabs are what the locals call bundari. Region 1, called Barima is named after its winding rivers. It is on these rivers that all life in the region thrives. Apart from its rivers, the wealth of Region 1 is its rich soil, and it is gearing up to propel a revolution against the importation of spices. Everything is grown here: nutmeg, black pepper, turmeric, and ginger. Dug at Hosororo, just a short distance from Mabaruma, this processing facility holds the answer to the region's battle to effectively process and market the spices that come out of the region. It was set up by the National Agricultural Research and Extension Institute called NAREI. The institute has been pushing resources into getting the cultivations going. Edward Innes, 60 years old and a former teacher, knows about the potential of this region for producing spices.
This region had a history of producing the largest volume of spice. As a young man, I know see a lot of these things. Ginger, turmeric. Farmers grow a lot of these things. Bags and bags of ginger will go down to that place they call Kumaka, the Kumaka Wharf, loaded with spices, ginger and turmeric. That's reverend farmers, right? That's in the 70s. That's in the 70s.
His father, Edward Innes, was a farmer, had a knack and love for spices. He started planting the nutmeg trees on a 7-acre plantation 30 years ago when people in the region hardly knew anything about nutmeg. Today, millions of dollars in nutmeg comes into the country.
People around too didn't know not much about this nutmeg. So he used to get it, bring it home, sun it out, show the family, you know. 1 or 2 people used to come here and say, oh, this nutmeg, and they used to say, piece of 1, piece, you know, uncle, piece of 2. So.
Mr. Innes had personally used the nutmegs for medicinal purposes.
These are grated to make a tea. Some people say, well, uncle, auntie getting a stroke, and I hear this nutmeg good for him. So they grate it and put it in auntie mouth. You know, I mean, I'm just saying auntie, right? But normally I heard the nutmeg is good for people with stroke, getting stroke, no? Yeah. And other residents who know about this thing, but not much. They would come and ask for nutmeg, you know. Oh, they would use it for wind pain. And instead they got bad wind pain, they say, Nara, drink it in a tea, make a tea with it, or put it in your ordinary tea, grate it and put the grated substance in the tea, and drink it for a course of a week or 2 weeks or so. You see that carry the wind.
Did he tell you why he started to plant the nutmeg trees?
His natural, no, he didn't say why, but he has a natural love for spices actually, right?
Because of a lack of market, the nutmeg trees were left unattended, but kept bearing. Mr. Innes is trying to revive and expand his father's nutmeg cultivation. The seeds that fall to the ground provide new plants and are collected by NAREI workers for a nursery which is intended to be used to spread the cultivation of nutmegs in this region. Ramnaris Sukna heads the spices project at NAREI.
What you're seeing here are nutmeg seedlings, and we are very meticulous about these plants, about these seedlings, because it takes a long time to get to this stage. And that's the reason why I mentioned that here we have a successful crop here in Region 1 at Hosororo because of the climatic condition that we have here. And we are being very, very, very careful with these plants. What happened from this stage here now, from the seedling stage, if we plant it into the field, because it takes like about 12 to 14 months before we can transplant these seedlings to the field. But if you transplant the seedlings to the field, it takes approximately 7 years before you can harvest one nutmeg. But if we graft it now, we have different ways of doing different grafting. We normally do the epicotyle grafting. And when you do that, it takes about 5 years when you take it to the field. So these are the seedlings that we have right now, and soon we're gonna do all the grafting on them. But it takes about 1 year before we get it out into the field. That's the reason why we have to be so careful about it.
Nutmeg likes a hilly type of elevation and a laterite soil type, just the conditions you'd find on the Hosororo Hills. Also ideal for this region, black pepper, the king of spices. $69 million worth of it came into the country last year. Six-to-one-year-old farmer Jiwan Danraj, who has been experimenting with black pepper, shows us his recent harvest.
This is what it look like when they get dry.
So this here you're ready to go
Or you can put it in, have a little grinder that people put and throw in the car and crush it. You could put this just like that. This ready. This marketable. This is already ready for the market.
He took us on his farm and explained how he knows when it's ready for harvesting.
When we notice that one of the berries changing the color, see these are getting yellow, from yellow to get red. For example, here we have some getting red. So when we notice that one of it is getting yellow, we pick them just like oil.
Pick this just up?
Just like this, yeah.
And then do what?
We would steam it in hot water for maybe about 50 minutes.
It don't smell like black pepper.
Bite it, then you will know. Just bite one, and then you will know if it tastes like black pepper. You just bite it and chew it up. You know if it tastes like black pepper. Yeah, because if we allow it to get too red, right, the birds will eat them out.
Okay.
The sakis.
So
then we'd steam it for about just lukewarm water where we could touch. We'd steam it and then put it in dry. I have a dry out there, drug. We drug it so that whenever it rains, we'd cover it during the night.
Mr. Danraj is not from Region 1, but has made this region his home.
Well, my old man was a cane cutter on the East Coast, and after he got 3 sons, and he decided to, well, he took cane cutting enough for them anymore. He brought us here since 1965, and he started doing farming. We grew up on a farm all the time.
So why did you decide to go into this black pepper?
Well, after I left Guyana for a while and went back to Georgetown and then came back. Then the ministry was promoting the spice program, and I took on the challenge and I started. I'm the only farmer actually who got into it, apart from the government.
Right. So, have you made any money off of it yet?
Never sell on a large quantity. We sell small amount. My wife would parch it and grind it and sell by half pound or pound.
Who you sell it to?
The guys in Kumaka with the restaurant and the food. People buy it too, but I have like over 100 pound dry one in the house.
Does it make sense to do this business?
In a long term, yes, because I'm getting old. I have to do something that I could have, something that could have cash on a regular basis, because we will get like 3 crops per year.
3 crops.
3 crops per year.
Okay. And so for the first crop, how much you make? Like how many pounds?
Well,
you able to-
with these couple of trees, we have like about, let me see, six or what? About 72 pounds.
And how many trees?
Well, I can't tell you exactly because I never count them. Sorry, yo.
Because you just put them down.
Just put it down.
Okay. And how much a pound you getting up this side?
Well, if we parch it and grind it, we'll get $3,000
A pound.
a pound. That is pure black pepper without no rice or nothing inside.
Wow.
But they said the NAREI's offer me $1,000 a pound.
Uh-huh.
In the raw stage with the black pepper.
Well, it makes more sense to parch it and sell it
Yeah, but there's not a demand for large amount.
up this side.
Up this side, but maybe in Georgetown.
But you think that this could really take off?
Yes, if people if people get the right incentive and the right encouragement from government, it can. It can, because I think we have the right type of climate and size type in this area for black pepper plantation. It can. But we need the right incentive and the people to be encouraged to do it.
In India, where Ramnaree Sukna studied, it takes 3 years to get black pepper off the vine, but because of the soil of Region 1 and the method that is used to grow the vine, you can reap in just 1 year.
This is what we refer to as the black pepper or a perennial vine. It takes one of these black pepper tree takes like about 25, give you production for 25 to 30 years. And this is what we refer to as a spike. This entire here, black pepper, or a bunch that we would locally see here, this is a spike. The tree that we trailed it on is what we call Gliricidia or quick stick. Normally what happens when you cultivate black pepper, you have to put it on a standard. It either be a dead standard or a live standard.
What do you mean standard?
Standard is a post, yes, a post. So you have a live one or a dead one. The dead one can be any wallaba post, a concrete post, or then you can use a live one. You can use any tree. But most of the time, why we utilize the Gliricidia, because Gliricidia is a legume as well. It helps to fix nitrogen to the soil. Rather than robbing the plants from its nutrients, it helps to give nutrients to the plant. So that's why we avoid using all kind of tree. But then again, you can utilize it in whatever tree you have, even in your backyard, homestead production, you can trail it on the trees. But this is in a more controlled environment. Reason being here, as soon as this plant reaches to a certain height, we cut the apical stem at the top, so as to force the plant now to grow in a more wider, to grow outward rather than going more upward, so that you force it so that the production would be at a level where you can easily harvest these black pepper. Because can you imagine if you have a mango tree in your yard and you leave one of these black pepper to trail on it and it gone all over the mango tree, then it would be impossible for you to harvest it. Yeah, you can harvest it, but the economic returns, of having these laborers to do all these kind of job. And then if you have a tree consistently growing like a vine like black pepper to trail on all of these trees, what happened? It gives more vegetative growth rather than start to fruit, because you allows it to keep growing all the time in the vegetative state. So that's what we do. As soon as it reach, I normally plant approximately about 8 to 10 feet in length of the Gliricidia. So I know as soon as the black pepper vine reaches at the top, I just cut the apical stem. So it forces it to grow outward rather than upward. And that's where you get the production. One of these trees, we have production 2 times a year. One of these trees would produce approximately 5 to 7 kg, which is around 12 to 15 pounds for one tree. And you just imagine 1 acres carry about 450 plants, because you use a 10 feet spacing. And look, in Georgetown, you can attract a price of $800 to $1,000 per pound. And then if you go to the supermarket, you will get it like $4,000 per pound. So it's a lucrative business to cultivate black pepper.
The countries producing black pepper on a large scale are Brazil, India, Indonesia, Vietnam, and Madagascar. The goal is to get Guyana in that bracket, beginning with the cultivation of 150 acres in Region 1.
It's not by magic, you refer to it as the king of spices or black gold. It's because of the health benefit that it carries with it. And that's why everybody, and sometimes you go into these lovely, place to dine, the restaurant, and you see white pepper. People want to know what's the difference between black pepper and white pepper. It's just the processing. White pepper comes from black pepper. It's just you decorticate the outer skin of it, and that's where you remove that black scarf out of the black pepper, and it become white, so that it look a little more fancy on your food. People don't see these kind of black things. So we all consume it, but not having the knowledge, and that's the reason why I'm planning that our people here in Guyana should have better knowledge of the health benefit of these crops. If they're aware of the health benefits, then they would consume it more and more. So I'm hoping that we can able to improve the or expand the cultivation.
One of the spices most widely grown in Region 1 is turmeric. Guyana imports tons of it every year, but small farmers like Carmen Small, who recently returned from Venezuela with her family, are among those growing the spice here in Region 1.
It's ready when you see it they out like this, you see? You see how they out from the mud? Look,
Right,
look here. You could even see it without digging it out,
And how much would you get out of that?
Like how much pounds? Well, depends. Some bear more. You could get like 3 to 4 pounds or 5 pounds, depends. Some bear more and some you get more a little bit.
How long it takes you for it to get to that
To-
stage?
How long? Like 7-8 months.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you take it out, how do you get it sold?
We just take it to Comarca.
And you sell it wholesale, retail?
Yeah,
what?
wholesale.
Okay.
But it's suck.
Like
And then
them-
big suck.
And how much you would get for one of those?
One of the suck.
Uh-huh.
Some of the sack does weigh like 170 pound, 170 pound. One of the big sack.
And what the pound?
It's get like $70.
But if you were to sell that by yourself, would that be easy? If you had to like sell it retail?
It would be hard because it would take long to sell a little bit. So like, but if you sell it wholesale, you would push off plenty. Together. This is it here.
Do you use the ginger yourself? Sorry,
The
this
turmeric, yes.
How you use it?
It's boil it with the ginger and drink. Use it to drink for this virus. And people say going on. I don't know if it's truth. Well, we don't really use it much. Most we just sell it.
Okay.
Most thing we do sell.
So when you pull it out like this, you gotta go and wash it and so on? Okay.
You see it clean, you just put it in the sack just like this.
Oh, so it's a lot of hard work, yeah? So you don't have a hard time selling it on the market? Like when you put it in the sack and so on, easy to go?
Well, we ain't getting a proper market right now down here for this. But
You have any idea why? Is that because of the pandemic?
like they buy the ginger more than the turmeric
Okay.
all the time.
The factory at Hosororo was set up to solve that problem, with NAREI taking the turmeric from farmers so they don't have the headache of marketing.
Before the turmeric rhizomes actually goes in to dry, we have to boil it, we have to cure it. And the curing involves boiling these rhizomes to soften it, and at the same time to remove the raw odor from the rhizome. So what happened, we would boil these in these charging vessels where the steam comes from the boiler, gets in here, and it takes about approximately 30 to 45 minutes in order to boil these rhizome, to soften it and remove the raw odor that it carries. After the boiling, what happened? These starch in these rhizome gelatinize, and by that it reduces the time of drying. And at the same time, the color is uniformly spreads throughout or distribute throughout the rhizomes. And what happened? The moisture content of these rhizome after drying have to be approximately 10 to 12%. So from the boiling, we take it outside into the solar dryers for drying. It takes approximately 7 to 8 days, depending on the weather condition that prevails at the same time. After drying, we'll bring it into something that you call the polisher, the turmeric polisher. It takes around 15 minutes to polish a batch of these turmeric that we have here. So after polishing, it looks something like this, because it becomes hard, and it becomes something like these that we have here. But what happened? In order to check the moisture content, normally we use a rustic way of doing it, and if we try to snap it and it have a metallic sound, is an indication that you already have the moisture content of 10 to 12%. So it's not a laborious, process. It's just a very short one, but it's tedious. You have to take time because you're dealing with pressure from the boiler.
It takes 7 pounds of the fresh turmeric to get 1 pound of the dry one, but the process is essential to produce the end product that eventually ends up in kitchens across the country. Many local farmers are excited about the Spices project. 67-year-old Yvonne Munsami has been experimenting with turmeric and has had to do her own processing. So you start planting some of the turmeric. You tell me you got some of it,
Yes, we got about 1 acre. When turmeric then dry down, grow back, dry down. We used to dry it hard, dry, you gotta get firewood. Put under your boiler, and whole day you boiling 200 pounds, you boil it whole. And we boil it and push a pinter inside, and when the pinter go inside soft, we take it out, put in the juggly. We got juggly pushing and hauling back. When the rain comes down, you haul it in. When the sun comes, you push out back. Yeah. So
hard work.
Hard. Yes, that we do.
Last year, Guyana imported 173 tons of processed turmeric. That's an increase from previous years. In order to satisfy the local market, the country would need to see some 150 acres under cultivation. Finding market for it would be no problem. On the coast, the big companies import turmeric for use in the making of curry powder and other products. Here at Continental, they manufacture the Sujata brand of curry powder and packages the turmeric for sale by itself. The company says getting local turmeric would be ideal, but it would need to meet certain safeguards.
You have to get it here to the quality that you want. In turmeric, it's very ticklish to, if I should say, to deal with. You have to make sure that the curcumin available inside is of good percentage, high quality. There are no pesticide traces. The quality control wise, you want to make sure that all these checks are done before you purchase it. So in terms of getting it locally, we will want to make sure that we can get a certificate of analysis at the point of purchase to make sure that these safeguards are met, especially when it comes to microbe, because it's not a lot more to be done with the product at the point of usage. For instance, if we sell it as turmeric powder, it can be used as medicinal purposes. So you want to make sure that all the safeguards are met before you start to use it.
There has been an increased use of turmeric on the local market, and evidence of this is the $55.8 million which was brought into the country last year.
There's been a steady increase in the sale of turmeric, especially turmeric powder only. We have that in the 50 grams, and we have that in newly launch size 200 grams. It's been used for religious purpose as well as for medicinal purposes. There's been a steady increase in that. Apart from the turmeric, we add to Sujata curry powder. For Sujata curry powder, turmeric is a very high percentage of that recipe. So if you notice the curry, it's more yellow it's a high percentage of turmeric inside. But there's been a steady increase as far as we have seen it.
The Sujata curry powder and the turmeric continental packages comes straight out of India. The company would be happy to see a local turmeric industry.
We will happily support the local businesses. Once we can get it to the state, as I mentioned before, we must have these quality control checks done for us. Once it's available, we don't mind buying and stocking, but it's got to be workable and we have to be able to try it for us. But we are here for the local growers. We have no problem using our local products.
Back in Region 1, NAREI is working to get the processing factory to the point where it can take off all the turmeric from farmers. Carmen Small continues with her own method in the meantime, planting and marketing to ensure she gets value for her hard work in the fields.
I don't have education, so I have to do the farming, but I find myself doing it good too, along with my husband. He himself don't have education either.
Carmen has been farming for most of her life. She did it in Venezuela, so it was natural for her to get back into the ground once she returned here.
Could I get more of the ginger beer nice, eh? Nice ginger. Nice big ginger. Them the sun are ripe like.
Carmen plants her farm along the river in Region 1 with her husband. The economic hardship in Venezuela forced them to return home. In fact, even before the move back, it was Guyana that they turned to for basic food items.
If you got to get it food, rice, sugar, everything, you got to come till here for it.
So you used to come yourself?
I used to come
And then go back with
and go back with the food. And it get very hard on the water tap with the military them,
What
the,
sort of things would happen?
they take enough things from you and charge you a lot of money and that kind of thing, and then it was very hard.
As conditions became worse, it no longer made sense for the family to stay in Venezuela.
Like schooling, no hospital and all them things. Didn't get them thing in the area then no more, like where we did living.
So you came back to Guyana and you decided right away you were going
Right.
to get into farming?
To farm right away.
And so how many acres do you have here?
I have in 12 acres.
And you got that easily?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and you found that the land here was good?
Yes, it's good. Things grow nice.
So everything that you have here, you use fertilizers or you don't?
No fertilizer.
So what, do you use natural manure?
Natural, just plants and the things grow nice.
Just like that?
Just like that.
No mold, nothing?
Nothing.
And everything grows?
Everything grows.
You've done all this work by yourself with your wife,
What?
a couple of workers initially to set this up, and you get your children to come on the farm as well.
Yeah.
Did it spread?
Well, children. Sometimes sometimes they want to help me, and sometimes, but they just come with me and help me.
Since your return to Guyana and setting up this farm, has life been better for you?
Well, for me, it's more better than when I used to live over Venezuela. Here, I find here more. I feel more happy here then.
Along with ginger and turmeric, Mr. Small wants to get into other spices.
Yes, I want to plant some of the black pepper.
You have a plant black pepper?
Never planted.
So why do you want to do it?
No, well, them boys tell me that they're going to help me and show me how to.
Them boys meaning NAREI.
Now reading, yeah.
They'll help you to...
They're going to help me, yeah.
Okay. The ginger grown here on his farm has a ready market.
We would have found that we always have fresh ginger rhizome to supply the market. And then a huge part of our production leaves from Guyana and go to Suriname. We have a huge market for ginger in Suriname. So a lot of farmers would take the produce to Suriname as well. Well, of course, the hucksters come from Georgetown and purchase these and take it to, the different part. But we want to reduce that importation bill with regards to ginger by reducing the 23 tons and the 18 tons that they're importing on an annual basis, so that we start up here now with the solar dryer, and also presently I'm procuring a ginger washing machine and a ginger cutting machine, so to make the work much easier And also I'm importing a multifunctional grinder which can grind both ginger and both turmeric.
The new head of NAREI, Dr. Jagnarayan Singh, was on a tour to the area recently to explore what can be done to ensure the Spices project gets the support it needs.
Well, this is a very beautiful place, and this is the first time I'm visiting here, and I can tell you I'm very impressed with some of the things that I'm seeing. The hard-working people. I was very impressed to see one farmer empowered his place with shovel. And you can describe that, and I'm sure you've seen that. If you go to the coast, a farmer who is being flooded like that, he cries steady, you want government intervention, want government help. The people here are helping themselves, and we should help them. I've seen here have some kind of comparative advantage in terms of the farms that we have visited so far. The yields that they are getting, as long as the product can be processed properly and then packaged to have a little shelf life. And because those things that if you try to sell them fresh, then you will have some problems. In agriculture, if you're going to expand agriculture in any part, not just Region 1, you need to have some kind of processing to expand the shelf life or extend the shelf life of whatever you're producing. We have in our budget this year, which is already tendered, and I think we in the process of acquiring processing facility for the ginger, the cutting tables, ginger and the turmeric and washer. I noticed that you have noticed that the boiler is giving us some trouble. We already ordered a new one. So this facility here, we want them to increase the amount of turmeric and ginger they can produce to at least make one company, even one company, self-sufficient, not just a 10% of that company, you know. And when we get to that level, then we can do for the entire country. My initial thing when I went to NAREI, someone was saying that, you know, we can export potato, we can export onion, we can export this, we can export. I says my initial thing is for us to tackle make us self-sufficient first in whatever we are doing. Right? By the time we are learning the process of getting the potatoes and the onions and all these things, we should reach that stage where we are self-sufficient. Then we can tackle the export. And with that, if you look at the import substitution, there's a lot of money we are spending on import of those commodities.
What we need is a lot of PR work to let people know what is happening here in Region 1 or with regards to spices in the country as a whole. And I know a lot of people would love to purchase the ginger and the turmeric and the black pepper that emanates from Region 1. Reason being, it is organically growing. And you know, everybody become health conscious these days. And I hope that, you know, they would all buy into this whole, because Region 1, most of the products that emanate from here are growing organically. So we want to move a step forward.
Getting the Spices project in Region 1 to a semi-commercial and then full commercial scale will not happen overnight. It needs a carefully designed plan with resources to make it happen, to first supply all that is needed locally and then perhaps to export. While that takes time to happen, the farmers in Region 1 continue to toil the fertile lands of this beautiful region.
Farming is nice. I like farming. From small I grow, and I like farming. It's really nice.